This is Joe narrating a PowerPoint on social studies. It's lesson 3 on U.S. history on page 434 of the Kaplan book, dealing with industrialization, immigration, and the progressive era. Industrialization was a process of developing big factories to manufacture goods instead of home-based manufacturing. This required much energy, and much of the energy in this part of the country was provided by coal. Here is a map of Pennsylvania, which shows the areas from which coal was mined. On the left you see bituminous coal, which is made in the mined in the western Pennsylvania. This was a softer, less energy-dense form of coal that was used for the steel mills in Pittsburgh, which is a city in western Pennsylvania. On the right in red you can see the areas in which anthracite coal was mined. This is a much more energy-dense form of coal, and this coal was shipped to Philadelphia for use in manufacturing plants that grew up in Philadelphia in the 1800s. This is a modern steel mill, which requires a lot of heat energy, which is acquired from burning coal, to melt the iron ore and make the steel. This burning of fossil fuels like coal generated a lot of pollution, as you can see in this drawing of a mill in Colorado. The mining of coal was also dangerous for the miners. Many were killed or maimed or developed chronic lung disease from their times in the mine. Child labor was also common in early industrialization. These children were deprived of the right to an education. In addition, many of the manufacturing sites were dangerous for children. Many of the new industrialization jobs were considered dirty jobs for which native-born citizens did not want to do the job. Immigrants came to the United States during this time of industrialization and did many of these jobs. For example, Irish immigrants came to work in the coal mines. On this map, it goes from 1850 to 2010. You can see the foreign-born population of the United States in the red bars for each decade. And you can see the foreign-born population of the United States as a percent of the population on the black line with the diamonds marking each decade. So you can see the rise of immigration in the late 19th century from 1850 to say 1920. This went down, and then you can see it going back up again today. So on the far right you can see that almost 13% of people living in the United States are foreign-born. This monument is down at Walnut and Front Street. You can see the Benjamin Franklin Bridge in the background. It commemorates the arrival of Irish immigrants in the 1840s. At that time in Ireland, there was a famine because of the potato blight, which destroyed the major food crop for the Irish people. Many of them left Ireland to come to the United States for better opportunities. The owners of the manufacturing plants took advantage of their workers such that the workers organized to negotiate better working conditions. Joining as one is called a union, and these organized bodies of workers were called unions. One of their tactics was to call a strike where workers would refuse to work until they received better working conditions. Some of these working conditions we take for granted today, like an 8-hour workday with 8 hours to spend with the family and 8 hours of rest. Back in the 1800s, Work days could be quite long, 12 hours, 6 days a week, for relatively low wages in relatively unsafe conditions. Other highlights of the progressive era were extension of civil rights to groups that did not have complete civil rights. For example, women did not have the right to vote until 1920. They fought long and hard for this right, and it is difficult for us to believe that women did not acquire the right to vote until about 96 years ago. Food regulation was a part of the progressive era. The government stepped in to regulate certain processes in the production of and distribution of food such that food became safer for the populace. So the progressive era comes and goes in United States history. Bernie Sanders in the 2016 election would be called a progressive. He wanted more government regulation to enhance the safety and security of the citizens. That is all.